Hey, I'm James from Smoking Dead Barbecue, and whether you have a Primo Ceramic Kamado or you're shopping for someone with one, I've compiled some of my favorite accessories bespoke for the Primo Ceramic Kamado in today's video. And I mentioned bespoke accessories for the Primo because if you happen to be following along and you say, James, I've got a Kamado Joe or a Big Green Egg or another Kamado, I've actually done bespoke versions just for those grills that I'll link down below. You want to go there versus today's video, since the Primo XL and its oval shape includes some accessories that are unique and will only work on the Primo, and they are not cross-compatible with Big Green Eggs, Kamado Joes, or vice versa. I do have a few accessories that are interchangeable with any brand Kamado or non-Kamado for that matter, and I'll put a chapter down below if you happen to be following along on an offset, a pellet grill, a Weber kettle, or anything like that. There are a few accessories for any pitmaster in your life, but I want us to get started with some amazing bespoke accessories just for the Primo XL. Let's get into it. Primo, like Big Green Egg and Kamado Joe, manufactures a whole bunch of accessories, and I'm not going to go and read the website and tell you absolutely everything each manufacturer makes. Instead, I've handpicked some of my absolute favorite ones that I've had a chance to use, test, and confirm I absolutely love them on the Primo XL, but that's not to say that there aren't some other great accessories. My assumption here is you may already have or have seen some of those things like cooking grates and surfaces. Instead, I'm going to focus on some of the more unique, sometimes the more expensive ones. You're wondering how they actually work and if it's worth it, as well as some great third-party products that you may not have seen before or wondering how they come together specifically inside of a Primo XL application. And since it's installed still from a previous cook, I might as well start off today's video with the rotisserie and the rotisserie basket. A rotisserie is one of my all-time favorite accessories. If you've seen any of my previous gift guides on any Kamado, a rotisserie has been on every single one, and I just love the interaction that your food has dripping over a live fire coal bed right below. So whether it's been things like chicken wings, turkeys, full chickens, a prime rib, you name it, a rotisserie is a great way to add not only a bit more fun, but a completely unique flavor profile to any ceramic Kamado, including the Primo XL seated beside me. One of my favorite ways to do wings is using a rotisserie basket at first and let the fat start to render out of those wings, which is basting them, almost acting like the wings are being deep fried. And after about 15 to 20 minutes, remove the rotisserie basket, dump those wings along with some sauce directly on the grills over those hot coals, and let that skin crisp up. This serves two very practical considerations. One, the basket, if you bake it in with the sauce, can be a pain to clean. The fine mesh chicken skin and the sauce tends to burn and stick. So not only will that make cleanup much easier for your next cook, I also love the caramelization that you get cooking directly over the hot coals, and that's exactly what I did for my test cook in the Primo XL. Another accessory that Primo makes that I absolutely love is the griddle accessory. And one of the reasons, a little rant here, why I love Kamados is they open up a whole bunch of utility. So rather than having a Primo XL and maybe a Blackstone beside you taking up more space for that griddle functionality, you can add a griddle cook surface to your Primo XL and gain the benefit of things like eggs or bacon or something like that before switching to maybe an all-day cook, whether you're doing ribs or brisket, you name it. This accessory is a must-have for anybody that finds themselves looking for that flat top experience or wondering, should I go add a dedicated flat top grill at its cost, or consider adding a flat top grid accessory? The price can fluctuate depending on the time of year. Sometimes an entire flat top grill is less than the price of the accessory. So I'll let you sort of decide space versus price and performance to pick the accessory that's right for you. But if you are like me and trying to do many things with the one grill that you own, additional accessories like the pizza oven or the griddle can open up a world of versatility inside of your Primo XL. Speaking of the pizza accessory, I also bought the Fredstone accessory, but not for what you think. This is actually something that I wanted to incorporate for my double indirect setup. Double indirect, if you haven't heard that, this is adding 2 layers of heat deflectors with an air gap in between. That's a really important step. And measuring this inside the Primo, I was able to take over 200 degrees Fahrenheit of temperature out of the stones sitting directly below our food. So this allows us to burn a cleaner, hotter fire, which means better tasting food without the sacrifice of completely destroying the bottoms of whatever we're cooking, whether that's ribs, pulled pork, and or brisket. I've also put a digital download guide below. I'll come back to that later, showing my double indirect setup for the Primo. But like all things, I share this advice for free across all my videos. I've just tried to save you some time versus watching nearly 400 videos to try and find out the different pros and cons of various setups. If you want it all consolidated into a PDF, that's exactly what I'll share down below. But the video on the Primo XL definitely shows you all the ins and outs of how I landed on that setup, particularly since there's not quite an accessory that makes it easy to achieve the air gap like there is in a Big Green Egg or a Kamado Joe. I had to rely on a third-party grill accessory from a gas grill in order to get the air clearance, but I'll be sure to update that in the future if and when an accessory becomes available that is designed specifically to make my double indirect setup even easier inside of a Primo Ceramic Kamado. Speaking of making life easier inside, the two accessories I think are game changer on any Kamado, and you'll see this in each of the other videos, whether it's Big Green Egg or Kamado Joe, and absolutely true in the Primo, is adding something like a charcoal basket as well as a catch can. And Catch basket makes not only a great basket for the bespoke oval shape of the Primo, they also make an oval catch can. And this makes cleanup so much easier. Rather than trying to scoop around with an ash tool and a rake and get the ash out in between cooks, now we can just quickly and easily shake our basket. Everything falls into the can down below, take that out, dump it, drop it back in, and I am ready to go for my next cook. This is also a great way if I want to add some smoking wood before I set up my grill. I can drop those right into the kick ash can, place that at the bottom of the grill, add my charcoal basket, add some extra smoking wood and charcoal above that, and then those hot embers will fall down and cause that wood below to combust later into our cook. A great way of getting smoke for the entire duration on any Kamado style cook is the setup. And because the basket acts as a bit of an insulator, I can also slide wood into the basket later on in the cook, and that will combust and burn and give me great smoke for those all-day cook. Things like brisket or pork, it's an absolute game changer. In addition to being easier to clean out as well as add supplemental smoke, the kick ash basket is also a great way to solve any breathability issues that you've ever had. The stock charcoal grates on some models have been prone to clogging up, which could potentially cause some airflow limitations. The kick ash basket breathes really well and allows air and ash to fall through, and make sure that you never run into any temperature control problems. Speaking of temperature control problems, this may or may not be an upgrade for you. If you've got an older Primo, there is now a precision control upgrade, which includes this new top damper, which can slide open and give me even maximum airflow, as well as a bottom vent with numbers and notches on it, so you can find your settings more easily in between cooks. If you're struggling with temperature settings, I've also adapted my temperature Kamado guide specifically for the XL Primo, along with my wood guide and double indirect guide. I'll put a link down to that below. If you're looking to support the channel, all proceeds go directly to me and allow me to invest and make more content. And it also saves you the time of browsing 400 videos to find some of those best practices in terms of vent settings, smoke wood placement, getting good supplemental smoke for the entirety of your cook, as well as a double indirect setup for the Primo XL. The only caveat here is I've limited all of the Primo specific digital download content to my XL, as that is the only Primo that I have for testing, so I haven't gone into the Junior or the double XL. Speaking of the Primo XL, another great accessory you may want to consider is a smart grill controller. And a year ago, I gathered the industry's best, including the Smobot, which is not really a fan. It's a top damper that's powered with a servo to adjust the vent, so sort of simulate you or I here making micro adjustments to lock in at the right temperature. And the three most popular fan units made by ThermoWorks with the signals and billows combo, the Flame Boss option, as well as the Fireboard. And I picked the Fireboard as my winner nearly a year ago, and I absolutely stand by that decision after another year of use. Some reasons you may want to consider a smart controller for your Primo XL include a couple things. So it could be cold smoking. So locking our temperatures in that 180 degree Fahrenheit range can be very tricky to do manually, and a controller makes that much easier. Another use case, speaking of low temperatures, and this is where the Fireboard absolutely dominated the competition, is in maintaining a low temperature for a hot hold. Not everyone has an oven that can go to super low temperatures or be manually overridden to achieve those low temperatures for holding a brisket in a hot hold overnight. And so if you want to use your Primo to do this, the fireboard has successfully, for me, been able to maintain a low enough temperature that I can actually preserve my brisket overnight inside of my Kamado versus needing to make the entire house smell like brisket. As wonderful that may sound, surprisingly, my wife and children aren't as enthusiastic about that concept as me.
Dad, Daddy smells like brisket. The dog smells like brisket.
That is another great reason you may want to consider something like the fireboard. It also has the most programmable options. So if I want to start with a cold smoke and after an hour ramp up to a hot smoke and then later on start to dial down for that hot hold, I can make my own custom programs inside of the fireboard app and make sure I turn out a winner. Once I've got my setup, I can save that as a program, just hit run, and the fireboard will do everything else. Since the year that I've done that video, they've come up with a couple new accessories, including the Spark, which is a smart meat thermometer, which completely integrates into the fireboard ecosystem. So I can even install a meat probe inside of that and it'll update it into the app and the cloud, and I can track that wherever I am. And more recently, the Fireboard Pulse, which is a smart wireless meat thermometer. It has just come out and it's going to be featured in my upcoming Smart Pro Battle. I am still waiting for the ThermoWorks RFX to come out. That's the holdup on getting that video out. I want to make sure that I have all the latest and greatest offerings for my updated Smart Pro Battle. So make sure you've got notifications turned on so you're alerted when that video comes out in a couple weeks. All that to say that the team at Fireboard has been rocking it over the last year with some extra accessories. And if I was in the market for a controller to regulate temperatures on a Primo XL, I would look no further than the fireboard for the Primo XL. Now that we've covered a couple accessories bespoke for just the Primo XL, let's go into some of my favorite universal accessories. Whether it's an offset pellet grill, Weber kettle, or the Primo XL, there are some great third-party options. There are some great third-party options for the experienced pitmaster that they're not already in your arsenal. I'd be keeping an eye out either on Black Friday deals if I was buying them for myself, or be sharing that list with friends and family if you happen to have compiled a holiday gift-giving wish list. Let's get into those. Okay, next up is our group of accessories that are some of my favorite accessories that are not Kamado brand specific. I'm gonna get started with a pellet tube smoker. Now, this is not something that you want to use inside of any Kamado when you're actively cooking, because the smoke coming off of this will be competing for limited oxygen available with our bottom vent and our top vent barely open. But what this absolutely does a great job is as a cold smoker. So whether we're cold smoking normal things like cheese, bourbon, or even ice that you can have as smoked ice cubes for adding into your favorite cocktail, where I've been using this more recently is for cold smoking my big cuts of meats, for things like pork shoulders or brisket. By going for about 60 to 90 minutes or maximum 2 hours of a cold smoke before transitioning to a hot smoke has made a world of difference in the smoke profile that I'm able to get on my Kamado smokes. Bari barbecue cold smokes on their offset before going to a hot smoke, and the best way that I've been able to recreate that on a Kamado style grill is using something like a pellet tube smoker. Next up, I'm gonna go with a meat thermometer, and you see me use my Chef's Temp X10 all the time on the channel, and I love it for a couple reasons. One, it's magnetic, so I can just stick it to my offset and have it handy and nearby. It's also got a large, easy to read display, which is digital down to the decimal point, which I can do on my other probes, but I have to open it up with a screwdriver and adjust something like my ThermoWorks in order to do that. And one of my favorite features is this hold button. So when I'm reaching in the back of my offset or a larger grill and I don't want to have my hand over the fire, I can hit hold and it'll keep the temperature exactly what it's at, which I've done right now, which is a very nice and chilly 59 degrees outside. Maybe why I'm losing my voice. But if this is already not in your arsenal, it is a great addition, either if you're buying for yourself or for a loved one, the Chef's Temp X10. Next on the list is a meat injector. So you can get a great deal on these, and I should mention these are not sponsored shoutouts. I bought this, but this is my Spitjack meat injector. I had a less expensive injector. It worked great right up until the point where my probe snapped. And so I found some of the Amazon specials, the probes are prone to bending and breaking, and that is not an issue on the construction of my Spitjack. I've been using it flawlessly now for a year. And if you get the upgraded kit like I I opted for when I was ordering mine. You can choose different nozzles like this perforated needle, which I use for things like injecting compound butter into my turkeys or chickens, and this disperses it all throughout the breast or whatever it is that I'm injecting. Does a really nice job. Costs a little bit more than some of the other options, but I think if you want to buy it once and be done, the Spitjack has been an amazing meat injector. Next up is the all-new Meter Pro Duo, which in many ways is like a miniature version of the block. We still have USB-C charging, Wi-Fi, but if you're not going to use 4 probes, why overpay for 4 probes, since the Meter Pro Duo gives you a lot of the functionality, including Wi-Fi, which I think is an absolute must, in a convenient 2-probe package. Updated for this year in the new probes is a 5-sensor internal readout, along with the 6-sensor for the ambient. So this is going to let us know what's going on with anything that we're cooking and keep track of that in the Meter app. I mentioned I'll be working on an updated wireless smart probe battle later in the year when I receive a few of those other products, and I'm waiting to finish that test. So make sure you've got the notification bell turned on so you're alerted when it comes out. Oh, a staple of my gift guides ever since I started doing them is things like my Grill Blazer and Grill Gun. And I recently did a test comparing the startup time of something like a large Kamado compared to a pellet grill and a gas grill. And the spoiler alert here, if you haven't seen that, is I was able to get the fastest startup times, 0 to 500 degrees Fahrenheit on a Kamado style grill, even quicker than the gas grill by several minutes by using my Grill Blazer Grill Gun. So if you want to get convenience for midweek cooks, even on the largest size Kamados, or if you're cooking over a solo stove or a fire pit or an offset smoker, or you've just got some pesky weeds growing in your driveway, these are all things that I've absolutely fallen in love with the versatility of my Grill Blazer Grill Gun. They make 2 different sizes. The Grill Blazer Grill Gun is what I would opt for if you have things like an offset or you're starting fire pits, or the largest Kamados. If you're not in a huge hurry and looking for the absolute fastest time, but you want the option of things like sauteing or melting cheese on top of your sandwich or a creme brulee, I would definitely opt for the sous vide gun. It can start all of my fires in slightly more time, but it has a regulator on the front that helps reduce our flame from 440,000 BTU or something like that down to about 200,000, and a little bit more manageable flame for those finer touches like creme brulees or melting some cheese on top of your beef on weck sandwiches is one that I did this summer when we were camping. And so if you could only pick one, I would answer the question of how you plan to use it. If you're going to be doing fire pits and big things, go for the grill gun. If you're going to do a little bit of everything and you don't mind waiting 1 extra minute to get your grill up to temperature, the sous vide gun is plenty powerful enough. Speaking of dealing with fires, you're going to want something like these high heat gloves. I've gone through several pairs. I have some JH safety ones, which I've got on Amazon, but I noticed they've gone on and off. And since the first time I ever did a gift guide video, the price has more than doubled, and they are no longer maybe one of those cheap and affordable stocking stuffer gifts, as they've escalated towards $50 depending on the day. Amazon prices have been fluctuating, and you can get a great deal on something like these Meter high heat gloves. I've been using them interchangeably along with those JH safety ones, and they are both holding up to holding hot heat deflectors, cooking grids, or moving sticks in my offset burner. I've been able to hold active fires and not get burnt. And these are an absolute must for not just Kamados, but almost any style grill where you're working and interacting with hot food and hot components. Speaking of hot food, instead of using these for food, another great gift idea is pick up a multi-pack on Amazon of these cotton oven gloves, and then use something like these CSP safety nitrile gloves as a wrapper around them. And this allows me to handle hot food and be 100% food safe. And this is, out of some of the options we've compared, a little bit more stocking stuffer friendly from a price point perspective. And last but not least, in my gifts that can go on any style brand Kamado or grill for that matter, is none other than the pepper cannon. If you or a loved one that you're shopping for likes to make their own rubs where you can dial up different flavor compounds, I've got some of my favorite rubs I put on my website for free. There's a link down below to check that out. Things like my ultimate SPG dry rub to things like my wing dust or bark builder. All of those I have recipes, including what settings I like to set my pepper cannon for to turn out amazing homemade rubs. The pepper cannon is not only versatile in terms of the size that I can adjust my granulars to, it is also 10 times faster than a regular pepper mill. And so while you can use any pepper mill to grind up the amount of pepper by hand that I can do in my pepper cannon, the fact that this is 10 times quicker than normal becomes very quickly appreciated. Even when I'm adding small amounts like this single tablespoon of fresh cracked pepper, it is a welcome retreat to use something like my pepper cannon when making my own rubs, or even just grinding up enough pepper to season a brisket for just a plain salt and pepper rub. The pepper cannon is sure to make anyone on the receiving end, or even if you're buying it yourself, one happy customer. If there's an accessory either made by Primo or a third party that I've somehow missed and I have experience using, let me know down in the comments and I'll be sure to try and answer that either by the comments, or if it's a brand new accessory and I wasn't able to include it today, let me know and I'll try and add that to an upcoming video. Well, I hope today's video was helpful, whether you're a Primo XL owner or shopping for a Primo XL owner in your life, that today's video gives you some great ideas of accessories to help enrich, enhance, or even add more versatility to Kamados, which are already one of the most versatile grills available, and today's video specifically on the Primo XL. I hope you enjoyed today's video. If you did, let me know down in the comments. Otherwise, I'm James from Smoking That Barbecue signing off. Remember, don't be afraid to fire it up.